Well, welcome to the March 2014 World of Equine News Report. I'm your host, Wayne Williams, and here at Speaking of Horses, we're glad to have you join us. Now, our first story, the Foundation for the Pure Spanish Horse. They conduct many shows and events throughout the year, and we wish to tell you of one of the groups of people responsible for that. Our heroes of the month are Gavin McKenzie and Pam Hines, who together worked on and managed the very successful 2014 Stallion Service Auction for the Foundation. Now, the Stallion Service Auction is a major fundraiser and is critical to the continuation of our rescue program. Many of the horses currently being rescued that are no longer serviceable for riding or breeding, but have not yet been placed in a home, require our continued support. So please let Gavin and Pam know that they are your heroes too. Well, you know, we were recently in Tennessee, and we were pleased to get an interview with the legendary horseman Jack Brainerd, who at 92 is still traveling, riding, and doing clinics. Now, here's our interview from the Southern Equine Expo in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, with Mr. Jack Brainerd. Watch. Southern Equine Expo is Speaking of Horses, and man, I'm really honored to be sitting next to Mr. Jack Brainerd. Jack's been doing clinics here all weekend, so welcome to the show, Jack. And how'd you like this expo?
Oh, I think it's fabulous. I think it's the best one I've been to, and I don't know when. It was great. Fabulous. The reason being, we had lots of talent, both horse and horsemanship-wise, and there's lots going on. Do you realize that we had 4 arenas going full blast for 3 days and something going on every one of them? So there's really some action around here, and it was great.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Now, you're still living in Texas, right?
Yes, sir, I do. I live in a little town called Whitesboro, north of Dallas, about an hour.
Yep, I'm familiar with that area a little bit. I used to work with a veterinarian up there, and I'm trying to think of the name of the town, and it's escaped me now, but it's okay. But it's about an hour north of Dallas. It's close. It's very close to Deion Sanders' house up there.
Oh, that's sure. That would be at Pilot Point. He's in that area right there.
Right.
Or Tioga.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the area.
Yep. That's about where you're at, right?
Yes. That's right where it is.
So now, tell us, how long have you been working horses?
Oh, forever. I don't know anything else. I had a Shetland pony. I grew up on a ranch in South Dakota, and I had a Shetland pony when I was 3 years old, and I haven't been off a horse since. With the exception of when I was in the Army. I didn't get to ride then, but other than that, I've been on a horse nearly every day of my life, nearly.
They wouldn't put you in anything to do with horses or mules in the Army, huh?
And I wanted to. I tried to get into the cavalry so bad, but they didn't have any, and it was...
just a handful.
Yeah, just a handful.
But it's really impressive. I got some footage. We're going to show some riding last night. It was nice to see you on a horse. And tell everybody how old you are again.
Well, I'll be 93 in August.
Yeah. I hope I'm doing that good at 93.
I do too. Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate. I've had a few setbacks, medical, some injuries and that type of stuff, but I feel great.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're getting around here good. You're over there getting stuff out of your bag. You're walking around, bending over. I saw you go down and do a clinic yesterday. You climbed through the rails of the fence, and, you're doing very, very good for 92, 93 years old. And
I hope it stays that way.
I'm like old, I forget who it was. I used to say, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself, right?
Right.
But it's really an honor to be with you. I know you've been so instrumental in the horse industry and judging and training and working with horses, and now a lot with cowboy dressage as well.
This is a new concept. Basically, it shouldn't be, but it is. It's a merger of old world horsemanship with modern cowboy. You must remember, when we're talking history, the Europeans were doing fabulous things 500 years before the cowboy came along. So they know much more about a horse than an American cowboy does, because he's a beginner, really, in the horsemanship world.
Right.
So whenever we begin to combine those old world authorities with the way they did things, we got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And we're doing it. And it's, we're seeing a tremendous improvement of our horses because we've borrowed some of those dressage principles.
As soon as we get over the fact of machoism, that maybe there's other ways to do it and learn from it, don't just say, oh, I know how to do that, right?
That's exactly right. You don't know how to do it, but that's a lame man excuse. Oh, yeah. I see it all the time. Say, oh, yeah, I'll show him a move on a horse. I'll say, here's a move on. Oh, my horse can do that. Well, he can, maybe, after a fashion, but a long ways from doing it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Guy says, just watch this, right? Famous last words, just watch this.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack, it's been a pleasure talking with you. And thank you for joining us,
Good.
And we hope to see you here next year.
That's the deal. Can't wait to see you again. If you get in my country, stop and see me.
I will. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jack Brainerd. Thank you. We'll be right back. We got a lot more coming on the World of Equine News for March 2014. We at Speaking of Horses would like to thank the people who have made Speaking of Horses TV possible. To Equessentials, all your horse grooming, coat and care products specifically designed for your horse. A thank you to King Barns, custom-built barns, any style, any project you'd like. Get a hold of King Barns. To Overland Carts, if you want that versatile utility cart for your stable that can do anything, check out Overland Carts. Stall Butler, a unique design on how you can muck your stalls and save 90% of your shavings for reuse. Check out Stall Butler. And Eagle Erie Equine, modular systems for saddle racks, tack bars, and the like. Totally organize your tack room with Eagle Erie Equine. Thanks to all of these fine people who make Speaking of Horses possible. The 2014 FTI Consulting Winter Equestrian Festival began its 7th week of competition last Wednesday with a win for Shane Sweetnam and for Cyclone 1083 in the 34,000 Spy Coast Farm 1.45 meter at the Palm Beach International Equestrian Center in Wellington, Florida. Sponsored by Equine, FTI WAF Week 7 runs through February. Now the week will feature the $125,000 Ruby at Violet WEF Challenge Cup Round 7 and the 34,000 GNC Farm 1.45 meter on Friday. The $280,000 Adequan Grand Prix will be the following Saturday, and the $84,000 Suncoast 1.5 meter championship Jumper Classic will be the last Sunday. The FTI WEF features 12 weeks of world-class competition through March 30th, awarding nearly $8 million in prize money. Well, we shift to Indianapolis. The Hoosier Horse Fair and Expo is a major fundraising event organized for the Indiana Horse Council to support the IHC equine programs. The Hoosier Horse Fair and Expo is organized and run by volunteers who give their time and energy to bring this annual celebration of the horse to Indiana. Proceeds from this annual philanthropic event sponsored equine-assisted activities that promote the benefits of a horse for individuals with physical, emotional, and learning disabilities, support educational scholarships, sponsor workshops for the first-time horse owner. They offer continuing education programs, subsidize trail design and maintenance, lobby for public land use and zoning issues, promote equine health research and welfare, educate on disaster preparedness, provide youth programs including a foreign student exchange program. Now, Speaking of Horses will be at the Hoosier Horse Fair in early April this year. Here's a short promo video about that event. If you're there, come by and see us. Right now, watch the video. Well, join Speaking of Horses at the Hoosier Horse Fair in Indianapolis, April 4th to the 6th, 2014. Meet and learn from top clinicians and educators such as Richard Winters and his daughter, Sarah Winters. They're from California, and they're also featured on a nationwide TV show. Also, Mr. Kerry Coon out of Kansas, and his horsemanship programs and styles are well known. Mr. Dick Pieper is legendary in the horse and performance arena, and Ray Lockhart comes from Northern California to his first Hoosier Horse Fair visit. Also, you can see Obi Shlom presenting mules and mule training. Many special events as the wonderful show Maseo returns under the big top with great performing horses and riders. And the Ultimate Mustang Challenge returns as well. Rows and rows of vendors for shopping, kids corral, and much more. The Hoosier Horse Fair in Indianapolis, Speaking of Horses, will be there. Come by and see us. Well, we'd like to take a moment and thank people who make Speaking of Horses TV possible. We want to thank One Source Nutrition, the perfect blend of nutrients to help your horse. It's One Source Nutrition. And Revitavet, equine light therapy, for either toning up muscles before competitions or to promote rapid healing. You want Revitavet. Equine Savings. This program can save you up to 25% on tractors, stable equipment, yes, and even on barn paint. Be sure and go to Equine Savings and check it out. To Hoosier Horse Trailers. Quality horse trailers, living quarters, you and your horse can ride in comfort. And Saratoga Stalls. Classic equine stalls built specifically for you. Thank you to Saratoga Stalls. And thanks to everyone who makes Speaking of Horses TV possible. You know, we recently caught up with Dr. Harry Anderson of Total Equine and were able to discuss his concepts of nutrition and health. Here's our visit with Dr. Anderson. Speaking of horses, we are live. We are at the Southern Equine Expo, and we're here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and we're having a ball. Yesterday was a good day for a Friday. We should have a great day today. We've got Chris Cox here headlining. Jack Brainerd, who is 92, is here, and he is just phenomenal. We've got all kinds of great Dick Pieper. We got some wonderful, wonderful horse people here with just years of history, you know, and of course, one of the best hands I've ever seen with a horse is Chris Cox. Yes. He is absolutely phenomenal in what he does. Anyway, right now I'm real happy to be sitting next to Dr. Harry Anderson, and it's Total Equine. I'll hold this up for the camera, but Total Equine, not only Total Equine, you said we're total goat, we're total people, we're total bovine, bull, we're everything. So now, first of all, thank you, because you are now working closely with Speaking of Horses, both on the TV but mainly on the new radio. But you also work closely with Chris. So tell us a little bit about Total Equine, your development, and how it's grown to where you're at right now.
Well, Total Equine was kind of a brainchild of mine years ago, that some people were asking me if I could make one formula that could feed all equine that walk the face of the earth. Didn't matter how old, how young, or what they were doing activity-wise. And I thought about it for a while, but then I said, yes, we're all the same inside. Our cells all need the same nutrients, so all we need to do is get the right delivery system to get the same nutrient package to the cells in a baby or an adult or whatever it is. And so one day I sat down and penciled out a formula kind of based on everything I'd used over the years, all the research I'd seen, and all my experiences. And so I just put that formula together and went to someone and asked them to make it for me and put it in some horses, and it worked. And the rest is history, because I haven't changed the formula in 17 years.
Well, if it works, it works. And you know, it's just like like feeding humans. You know, certain foods do certain things, and that doesn't change. It still affects the body the same way.
That's right. And so for several years, I hauled it around in my little trailer with my Dodge 3500 and delivered feed, put it in people's barns. And while I was doing consulting, while all this time I was doing consulting nutrition for feedlots in western Kansas and Texas, places like that. And then all of a sudden I had to buy a bigger trailer and a bigger trailer and a bigger, and finally I couldn't haul enough to keep up. And about 7 years ago, I started extruding it. That's the form that you see here now, is this that looks like fish food or dog food. And since I started that, everything started working much better. People liked what they were seeing in their horses better with the extrusion process versus a pelleted program that I was using before. So I thought, this is going to work. At that point, I had 6 dealers 7 years ago. Today, I have 950 dealers in 45 states.
Wow.
And this has all come about from people watching other people's horses and people telling other people about my product. And this is how all of this has taken place, is by word of mouth, not by my calling on dealers. I've never walked in a dealership yet and asked them to sell my feed. They all come to us. And so we continue to grow. And right now we're looking for more manufacturing facilities because we can't keep up with it. But the reason this is all taking place is fairly simple. If you give the horse's body the right nutrients and increase the blood flow so that the blood flows better into all the areas of the body, like the joints and the hooves and the brain and all those places, the horse has an uncanny ability to correct problems and to regenerate tissue and to re-heal damage and trauma. They baffle me every week, the stories I hear about how they can heal from trauma and from injuries. And for some reason, and I can't explain everything that I've got going, because some of it I'm not sure I understand, because I learn every week about something new. But what people are telling me, and even veterinarians are telling me, that when they see an injury, they have an idea of how long it's going to take to heal. When they're on Total Equine, it heals in about 2/3 that time. And customers have proven to me many times over the last 7 years that a horse on Total Equine grows a brand new hoof every 5 months. At first, when they first started telling me this, I called them a liar. I said, "That can't be true. You're making this up." No, they documented it to me. They proved to me that, customers did, that they were growing new hooves every 5 months on these horses. And in the process, they correct all the cracks and chips and shelly hooves and things like that we have too much of in the horse industry. We have a kind of a problem in general with hoof quality out there, and I think, and now I'm understanding that it has to do with nutrition. We don't correct those hoof problems from the outside. We correct them from the inside.
Well, you're right, and if you think about it, you go back to the Mustangs, the wild horses, and then when man first started working with them, there was always the saying, no foot, no horse, okay, right. No hoof, no horse, because if they didn't have good hard feet to withstand chipping and things like that, they weren't any good. But that's because we weren't putting the proper nutritions inside, so the hoof growth was what it was. So you just look for a horse that had, all of the good hard hoof to withstand it, because that meant something if you couldn't get the nutrition in.
Right. And the other thing is that they started telling me is people would call me and I'd hear the kind of a jovial voice on the other end, and they'd say, "I got to tell you about old Fluffy." old Fluffy's 25 years old, and she was really getting creaky and cracky, and she didn't get up very well, and she hobbled around, and we were real concerned about her. She's been on Total Equine now for, sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 45 days, and they said, she's out in the pasture chasing the other horses and kicking up her heels. They said, "This is really interesting what's happened to her." And now, this leads right into, what I was saying about blood flow and getting nutrients into the right parts of the body, like the hoof area and the joints. The joints have compromised blood flow through that hoof area, but if we can increase that blood flow in there and get more nutrients in there, that animal can regenerate that tissue instead of trying to use all of these supplements, that we hear about to correct all these things. just give them the nutrients they need, and a horse can do it themselves.
Well, whether it's a horse, a human, or whatever, the key to healing anything is the blood flow.
Yes.
All the healing properties are in the blood.
Yes.
And unfortunately with a horse, if they get injured in a leg, then they don't move, and when they don't move, that blood flow is restricted. So, like a human, if you hurt your foot and you quit walking, you got less blood flow, so you're already at a disadvantage. So if you've got better nutrients or better properties in the blood, then you ultimately, even with reduced blood flow, you still get a decent amount of those healing. Now, I'm not a vet or a doctor. I'm just giving you a layman's view.
That's very
but
true.
that sounds to me like that's an accurate statement.
Yeah. And an interesting story. Someone called me about a week and a half ago and was telling me about a horse that had different growth rates on their front feet. One foot was not growing as fast as the other, so they actually trimmed them at different times. And they said they put them on total equine, and all of a sudden they're growing at the same rate. That again tells you that the one foot had something compromised in it for blood flow, wasn't getting the nutrients, so it wasn't keeping up with the growth rate, and all of a sudden now they're equal. And that's interesting. And now you mentioned the Total People Plus. I'm getting the same feedback from people as I do from horse owners when they get on this. I have, of course, at my age, I have a lot of old broken down cowboy friends, that worn themselves out in their joints and everything else.
I understand.
Well, and they go on my Total People program, and all of a sudden they'll call me in a few days and say, I'm sleeping better. My joints aren't waking me up at night. Or they'll call me and say, man, I'm moving freer than I have in years. Again, the body has the ability to correct some of those things if you get that blood flow back in, which, as we mature, blood flow gets compromised, just like a lot of other things, and so we just have to regenerate that.
Well, speaking of horses, we'll be at the Northwest Horse Fair in Albany, Oregon, March 21st to the 23rd of 2014. Come by and say hello, join us. Now here's a short video all about that event in Albany, Oregon. Watch. Join Speaking of Horses TV in the Albany, Oregon area for the Northwest Horse Fair, March 20th to the 23rd, 2014. We'll be there and hope to see you come by and visit. Join top world-class clinicians such as Chris Cox out of Texas and his unique and exceptional brand of horsemanship. Chris Cox is known the world over. For cowboy dressage, meet and greet with Eitan Beth Halakami and his distinctive approach to horsemanship as the European masters like it. Also, see Scott Hansen and Sandy Segrist with their Horse Think program. All weekend long, from the Northern California area, we bring you Ray Lockhart. He'll join us there. What a lineup. Special events like the All-Breed Challenge, drill teams, and a wonderful presentation by the Frisian horses. Mix this with great shopping, rows and rows of vendors, and you have a great equine experience at the Northwest Horse Fair, Albany, Oregon, March 20th to the 23rd, 2014. Join us there. The Mustangs that run wild in the United States have been the subject of much controversy for years now. We recently learned of and viewed a new film on the Mustangs and their natural settings. Here's an interview about this new 3D film. Watch this. Horses, and we are in beautiful Pomona, California, and we're just having a great time here at the Horse Expo Pomona. And right now I'm standing here with a lady who has produced
a movie.
A movie, all right, and this is Ellie Price. Now, Ellie's movie is American Mustang.
And I guess we should turn this.
Turn the
Or this one right here.
All right, American Mustang. Now, Ellie, tell us a little bit about the movie and how you got into doing this.
Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, I learned about what was happening with America's wild horses, that they were being rounded up, removed from the range, and stockpiled in government holding. And it just seemed like the wrong way to go about it, and I wanted to raise awareness about what was happening and try to get people interested in America's horses.
Well, and you know, we need to be interested in them because they are a true treasure, you know, in America. It's a true treasure. We have to have them as a part of this thing, and preserving them is really critical.
Yeah, I think, they're really a part of our culture. Everyone knows about wild horses. They know about the America's wild horse. It's been said that they're the horse we rode in on. And, horses evolved on the North American continent a long time ago, and then they basically disappeared, and then, were reintroduced in the 1500s by Cortez. So their horses have been here for a lot longer than all of us, and they've been a part of our culture, and American people love them, but they're going to be harder and harder to see, and right now we need to find a way to protect and manage the herds without rounding them up and taking them off the range.
So you're having a screening here too of the movie, right?
We are, and we're so excited to be here at the Horse Expo. We're screening right in the middle of Ontario at Ontario Mills this week. Our opening is tonight. We have one screening every day at 6 o'clock, and I'm the executive producer. Our director, Monty Miranda, will also be here. And for today and tomorrow, for the 6 o'clock screenings, we'll be doing question and answers after the show, and people will be able to ask us about how we got this amazing 3D footage and what our story is and what we're trying to do with this movie.
Well, that's great, and I'm glad to get a chance to meet you here, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do more down the road, but we're going to go to that screening tonight.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you'll get to see it. I hope you'll have a good, tough question for us, and, we're really, really happy to be here, and thanks so much.
Well, it's a great program to do the movie on the Mustang, an American treasure, and we look forward to seeing the movie.
Great, yeah. We'll look forward to having you there. I hope everybody will come on down over to Ontario Mills. This show tonight and every night this week until Thursday is at 6 o'clock, and it's American Mustang, the movie in 3D. The first time ever that wild horses have been captured in 3D and presented on the big screen.
Now, if people want to learn more later on, what's the website?
Well, we have AmericanMustangTheMovie.com is our website, and that's where you can find out where screenings are, film festivals that we're going to be in. We're going to be in Wellington, Florida, Indio, the San Luis Obispo Film Festival in the first week of March, and Houston, Texas during the stock show. So we're going where horse people are. We're bringing this movie out across the country, finding our audience, and so far we've just come run in Denver, which extended to 4 weeks in 3 theaters in Denver, so that was a great start for us, and we're just hoping to build from there.
Great. Ellie, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. We're here at Speaking of Horses at Horse Expo Pomona in Pomona, California, 2014. Stay with us. We got more coming on Speaking of Horses.
We at Speaking of Horses would like to thank some of the people who helped to make Speaking of Horses TV possible. A big thank you to Equine Clot. Equine Clot is a wonderful product. Carry it in your saddlebag, put it in your first aid kit, wrap it on an equine wound. It immediately promotes clotting and is a great first aid tool. Thank you to Equine Clot. And to EquestraSafe, a complete line of equestrian riding products for trail, for arena, for wherever. From reflective vests, reflective headgear, tapes, signage, everything you need to ride safely and to be safe with your horse is available at EquestraSafe.com. Check them out. Thanks to all of the fine people that make Speaking of Horses TV possible. Well, that's our report for March 2014. Thanks for joining us on the World of Equine News on Speaking of Horses. We'll see you down the trail.